After a short break due to the domestic cup tournaments, ABA League continued with round number 25. Buducnost's win streak came to an end against Sutjeska, and after Partizan beat Cedevita, Crvena Zvezda took sole possession of the second place. Battle to avoid relegation will be fought until the very last day of the regular season. And as usual, we will end our show with the top plays of the round. Welcome to ABA League magazine. With the end of the season coming near, another player left Metalac. Boris Bakic left Valjevo after averaging 6 points, little over 2 rebounds and 2 assists per game in ABA League. After Ratko Varda, Brian Rush also left Sutjeska. Veteran guard played only 7 games for the club from Nikšić, averaging 8.4 points. Zach Wright decided to take a financially better offer and leave Olimpija. American point guard with Bosnian passport was one of the team's top players, averaging almost 10 points, 4.7 rebounds and 3.5 assists per game. In a Montenegrin derby, Sutjeska overcame Buducnost 92-91 in overtime and managed to stay in the fight to avoid relegation, while simultaneously ending the rivals' 15-game winning streak. The game was mostly even in the first quarter. Buducnost managed to take a 7-point lead during the second period, with Omar Cook and Julius Jenkins leading the way, filling in for the injured Tadija Dragicevic. But the home team managed to level the score by the end of the first half. The teams matched up well in the second half. However, with 3 minutes left on the clock, Buducnost scored 7 unanswered points to grab a 78-71 lead. 3-pointers from Radoslav Spasojevic and Nikola Korać kept Sutjeska in the game. They would repeat the feat in the last minute to send the game into overtime. Buducnost scored first 4 points in the additional 5 minutes, but after that they were unable to score from the field and Sutjeska managed to get the win, taking care of business from the foul line. Nemanja Vranješ led the home team with 28 points, while Spasojevic added 20. Jenkins led the scoring list for the losing team with 22 points. In order to avoid relegation, Sutjeska needs to win in Zadar in the final round and hope for a loss from one of the 3 better placed teams, Krka, Olimpija or Metalac. Buducnost will end the regular part of the season as the top seed and will look to bounce back before the first playoff game against Cibona in Podgorica. With the victory over Cibona 94-83 in Dražen Petrović Hall, Crvena Zvezda got within a win from securing the home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Cibona's only lead of the game came after the first possession, but that doesn't mean that Damir Molomerovic's team went down without a fight. Dan Radonic's team had an extremely high field goal percentage throughout the game, and with the home team struggling to defend against the pick, grabbed an 11-point lead in the 4th minute of the second quarter. Cibona responded with shots from long range. Florence and Siriščević managed to score 5 consecutive 3-pointers to bring the home team within 1. but the red and whites brought their own artillery to the fight, as a three-pointer from Lazic gave them a 4-point lead at the end of the first half. The game flow stayed the same in the second half. The team from Belgrade was in constant lead that rarely went into double digits. Cibona kept pulling off scoring runs to keep the hopes of an upset alive. Until Crvena Zvezda had enough of that. Midway through the final period, the visiting team ran to a 13-point lead to secure the win. The game's MVP was Quincy Miller with 18 points, 10 rebounds and 4 assists. Cirbes ended the game with a point less, while Guduric with 11 and Jovic with 13 also scored in double digits. It should also be noted that the starting point guard had to leave the court near the end of the third quarter due to injury. Cibona's James Florence led all scorers with 20 points, going 6 from 10 from the three-point range, while Ante Žižić added 17 points in the losing effort. With a win over Krka in the final round, Crvena Zvezda will secure the home field advantage in the semi-finals against Cedevita, while Cibona will end their ABA League campaign with an away game against top-seeded Buducnost in Podgorica. After beating Crvena Zvezda twice in the last month, Partizan found a way to beat the other ABA League's representative in Euroleague as well. With a packed house in Sports Hall Ranko Žeravica, Black and Whites upset Cedevita, sending the team from Zagreb to the third place in the standings. Finalists of Radivoje Korać Cup won 82-61, which was their sixth victory in last 7 games. Led by Jones and Williams, Aleksandar Džikic's team played a phenomenal first period, scoring 29 points with 70% for 2 and 2 successful three-point attempts. Cedevita, who won its third consecutive Croatian Cup trophy a few days earlier, had no strength left to mount a comeback. In the second period, all the problems that plagued coach Veljko Mršić's team had simply culminated, and the lethargic defending champion of Croatia couldn't solve any of them until the end of the game. Cedevita couldn't find any rhythm on offense, shooting just 32% from the field, with a number of turnovers, even when Partizan's defense wasn't too aggressive. On the other side, Black and Whites always had at least one player with a hot hand and a huge 14-point lead at the halftime. The game was over in the third period when the home team held Cedevita to just 2 points for 7 minutes and went up as much as 20 points. The fact that the win meant more to Cedevita didn't help to motivate the visiting team that was down as much as 26 in one moment. The league's second-best scorer, Kevin Jones, had himself another great performance with 21 points. Wilson added 16 with 5 assists with a few amazing slam dunks. Edo Murić played his part with 15 points, while Williams added 12. Cedevita's Miro Bilan had 13 points, but his performance will be remembered by his 3 failed slam dunk attempts. Pullen added 10 with a poor field goal percentage. Partizan will try to keep the 5th spot in the standings with another great performance in the final round against Olimpija in Ljubljana. In 2013, for the very first time, the champion of ABA League had a guaranteed spot in the Euroleague, the fact that added a significant weight to winning the regional championship and brought certain controversies at the end of the season. Surprisingly, Igokea was in first place at the end of the regular part of the season, but missed out on participating in the Euroleague because the original rule was changed, so that only the finalists of the playoffs would qualify for the elite European competition. The Final Four tournament was held in Laktaši. With a spot in the Euroleague on the line, Crvena Zvezda pulled off a last-minute comeback against Radnički in the first semi-final. With a 79-78 win, Crvena Zvezda booked its very first championship game appearance. In the second semi-final, Partizan beat Igokea 63-57 in a hard-fought game. Black and Whites managed to recover after a bad start to the season and secured a spot at the final tournament in the very last round. With a place in the Euroleague safe in their hands once again, Partizan set their sights to winning yet another trophy under coach Duško Vujošević. Overcoming their arch-rival Crvena Zvezda in the championship game, the Partizan players won their 6th and so far their last Adriatic League championship ring.
Crvena Zvezda je u toj tvrdoj utakmici za sada ostvarila kudikamo bolji procenat šuta iz igre od Partizana. Partizan je na 36% šuta postigao 25 poena za poluvreme, 2 više nego u utakmici sa ekipom Igokee. Partizan je promašio jedno slobodno bacanje više, ali kao što je Edin rekao, osnovna razlika je za sada u šutu za 3 poena, gde je Crvena Zvezda pogodila 2 trojke više. Zvezda ima i skakačku dominaciju, dvostruko više uhvaćenih lopti, ali to nije realno jer je bilo dosta onih situacija da se lopta odbijala posle promašaja Partizana, ispadala igračima i na kraju, i na kraju se te ničije lopte po pravilu pripadale igračima Partizana, što se ne može pisati kao ofanzivni skok, ali su bile druge i treće šanse za crno-bele.
Ovo je možda i potez prvog poluvremena, ona sjajna blokada Demarcusa Nelsona nad Westermanom. Bilo je perioda zaista dobre odbrane i jednih i drugih. Partizan nije imao raspoloženje u šutu za 3 poena, samo jedna trojka i to Westermana iz 8 pokušaja. Imali su 0 od 7 dok Westerman nije pogodio.
Najmlađa ekipa u Jadranskoj ligi dolazi do naslova šampiona.
71-61, sada mogu da kažem, igrač utakmice Leo Westerman. 15 poena, 50% šuta iz igre, 4 skoka, 4 asistencije, 1 ukradena lopta. Što je najvažnije, izgledao je zrelo na terenu, dijelio pravovremeno lopte, pratio kada saigrači izlaze iz blokova, spuštao loptu na niski post, razigrao ostatak ekipe. 71-63, mislim da će izdriblati ovo Bogdan Bogdanović. Uslijedit će veliko slavlje igrača Partizana, najmlađa ekipa u Jadranskoj ligi, osvaja titulu u sezoni prepunoj uspona i padova, eliminacije iz grupne faze Eurolige, poraza na jednu loptu koji su se gomilali u Euroligi i u Jadranskoj ligi. Partizan je, ne zaboravite, u Jadranskoj ligi 5 puta poražen sa 2 poena razlike. Izgubili su veliki broj utakmica na jednu loptu. Govorili su o tome u stručnom štabu Partizana, mora da se vrati u jednom trenutku i eto, vratilo se Partizanu u završnici sezone Jadranske lige. Došli su na Final Four u najboljoj formi, u formu i potvrdili na ovom turniru.
Krka pulled off an upset against Metalac 71-54 to stay ahead above the water in the fight to avoid relegation. Coach Dejan Milojević's team was without Ognjen Jaramaz in Novo Mesto and in no way resembled the team that just won the Radivoj Korać Cup in Serbia. The visiting team scored only 7 points in the first quarter, allowing the winner of the Slovenian Cup to take an early 14-point lead. Metalac found some rhythm on offense in the second quarter, cutting the lead to 4, but Lapornik and Mulalic made sure Krka kept a double-digit lead by the end of the first half. All bets were off during the third quarter when the home team once again managed to keep Metalac's offense in the single digit. Vladimir Anzulovic's team had its own problems on offense but still found a way to go up by as much as 20 points. The playoff-bound Metalac couldn't find a player to complement Nikola Ivanovic, who scored 23 points. Their top scorer this season, Lu Vavo, disappointed as he ended the game without a single bucket. Krka's top scorer in this game was Luka Lapornik with 18 points, a perfect 5 for 5 from the field, along with 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Mirko Mulalic added 12 points for the winning side. In order to avoid relegation, Krka has to beat the reigning champion Crvena Zvezda in Belgrade or hope Zadar will beat Sutjeska in the final round. Metalac made a huge step towards avoiding relegation by beating Olimpija 74-61 in Valjevo. Pressure got to the Vladimir Djokic's team as they couldn't score a single point during the first 4 minutes of the game, allowing the team from Ljubljana to race to a 6-0 lead. However, that would be Olimpija's only lead during the game as Metalac responded with a 10-0 run. Both teams struggled with the field goal percentage, but Metalac stayed ahead until the halftime. Tomislav Gabric was the only player able to score from the distance and would end the game with 5 successful 3-pointers from 10 attempts. The game's pace picked up in the third quarter as Metalac's best player Đorđe Majstorović led the team to an 18-point lead. Coach Kasper Potočnik struggled to find an answer, and the only thing Olimpija could do was to tone down the defeat and reduce it to less than 14 points. In the game where they managed to score only 3 3-pointers, the top scorer was Robinson with 12 points, while Wright scored 1 less in his final game with Olimpija. Sava Lešić was held to only 6 points. Majstorovic had a solid performance for Metalac with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists and 3 blocked shots. Gabric added 18 while Nikola Jevtovic chipped in with 14 points and 10 rebounds. Both teams sit at the 10-win mark this season, so the question which team is going to be relegated will be solved during the final round, where Leks faces Metalac at home while Olimpija will host Partizan. Igokea defeated Zadar in Laktaši 77-73 without the injured Miloš Komatina. Dragan Bajic's team held the lead throughout the game and only let Zadar come close in the final minutes. Led by the brilliant Vuk Radivojevic, Igokea had a double-digit advantage during the first quarter, 27-17. Radivojevic scored 3-pointers from every spot on the court and was at 18 points in the first 15 minutes of the game. Danilo Šibalić was also in form and was the essential part of their 19-point advantage at the halftime. Home team's advantage was double-digit all the way until the second half of the fourth period, when Zadar, led by Boris Barac, came creeping in. Barac's three-pointer cut the lead to 76-73, but Ante Delaš missed the opportunity to send the game into overtime. Radivojevic was the top scorer with 28 points and 7 rebounds, while Šibalić added 18 points. For the losing side, Barac led the scoring list with 18 points. During the final round, Tajfun will take on Igokea at their home court, while Zadar will play host to Sutjeska, a team hell-bent to avoid relegation. MZT managed to beat Tajfun at their home court to stay above the relegation zone. Facing certain relegation, defending champion of Slovenia didn't come to Skopje with a white flag and gave the home team a headache during the first half. After MZT's better start, Tajfun managed to turn the game around, led by the excellent Siola Clark. Dejan Mihev's team held an 8-point lead at the halftime. As the game went on, visitors couldn't keep up with the offensive pace, so the team from Skopje made the most of it in the middle of the third period. Tajfun didn't give up, but Aleksandar Jončevski had more informed players who led MZT to its 10th win of the season. Lukovic brothers distinguished themselves. Marko scored 19 points while Uroš added 14. The same number of points came from Damjan Stojanovski while Đorđe Drenovac added 15. Americans led the losing side with Siola Clark scoring 16 and Jacob Parker 14 points. Tajfun will say goodbye to ABA League in a game against Igokea in front of their fans in Celje, while MZT goes to Zagreb for a decisive game against Cedevita. The MVP title for the 25th round of ABA League goes to Vuk Radivojevic. Experienced shooting guard was brilliant in the first half of the all-important triumph for Igokea over Zadar. Radivojevic finished the game with 28 points with a memorable 5-for-6 performance from the three-point range. He added 7 rebounds and 3 assists, which was enough for 31 index value points. He became the MVP for the second time this season after his brilliant performance in the 17th round. The MVP title for February goes to Mike Cirbes. This German international led Crvena Zvezda to 4 wins, winning the MVP of the round title twice. Cirbes averaged 18.75 points with 7.5 rebounds for the league-leading average performance index rating of 25.75. We start off our top 5 list as Sports Hall Ranko Žeravica in Belgrade. Daryl Williams demonstrates his defensive qualities and blocks Henry Walker's attempt. Sutjeska put an end to Buducnost's winning streak, but the best play in Nikšić came from Bojan Subotić and his dunk over Spasojevic. Some situations require resourcefulness. Uroš Luković set his slam dunk himself with some help from the backboard. We're back in Belgrade. Edo Muric rises high over two Cedevita's players for the second spot on our list. The play of the round comes from Valjevo. Dušan Kutošić assists Đorđe Majstorović for a one-handed finish on this alley-oop. You have been watching another edition of ABBA Magazine. A struggle to avoid relegation will be in the spotlight next week, as 5 games will be played at the same time on Monday. Don't miss the games, and don't miss the next week's edition of ABBA Magazine.